on BBC Two in Health E, we follow Bob and Blod as they prepare for a new arrival. Teachers should preview the programme before using it in the classroom and use it in accordance with sex education policy in your school.
Bob was in the kitchen, cooking up some sprouts. Blod grabbed at his attention with a mighty shout. They rushed around in earnest, looking for her things, and I remembered weeks ago when time had wings. They went to see the doctor, he sent them for a scan. She took him into town, 'cause they would need a pram. They set up home for baby in the nursery. Bob and Blod had planned it, it was meant to be. In and out of traffic, Bob is tooting the horn. They've got to reach maternity before the baby's born. Blod is breathing gently now, she's timed it to a T, having been to all the classes and remained healthy. The earth is home to thousands of millions of people like you and me. We live in all sorts of different places. Some like it hot, others make their homes in places that are cold all year round. People come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. They speak different languages. They play different games. There are many religions in the world, and people worship the God they believe in their own special way. And even though we all have something in common, like the basic shape of our bodies, we are all different. Some of us male, some female. Some are young, and some are old. We live in different kinds of places. Our problems are not the same. Some of us are healthy, some of us may not be. Some of us try to look after our bodies. Others don't bother. You are unique, you are special. There are billions of people in our world, but no one like you. Hello there, how are you? I have been on a very special journey. Well, 2 journeys to be exact. I wonder if you came along too. I have been inside 2 bodies. One male, one female. This is Blod and Bob. I managed to make myself so small that I was able to crawl about inside their bodies. I wanted to know exactly how bodies work and how to keep them healthy. I started off in the mouth, of course. Blod had a few rotten teeth because she hadn't been cleaning them properly. Bob, on the other hand, had perfect teeth. But then just about everything about him was perfect. He liked to keep fit, which made things very uncomfortable for me now and again. His lungs were beautiful, plenty of fresh air. Blod smoked cigarettes when I visited her, and believe me, her lungs were not the place to be for very long. They are better now that she has given up. I followed food and drink around their bodies. I reached the stomach, where food is churned around. I saw where it gets into the small intestine. This is where all the useful bits of food get into the blood. Whoop. Blood is pretty amazing. It carries all the food around to every part of the body. It also carries the oxygen and all the waste. In fact, blood is just one very efficient transport system. And of course, it's all pumped around by the heart. It makes sure that the blood reaches every cell in the body. I visited the large intestine, where the waste food is pushed out, and the kidneys, which filter out the poisons. I went to the liver too, which is where the poisons are sorted. And of course, the other place I visited was the brain. Yes, this is where it all happens. We all have a brain, just like Blod and Bob. Here we make very important decisions about our lives. All the messages come in here from our eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin. Remember the senses? And all our movements are controlled from here. I had a lot of fun in Bob when I took over the controls for a while. Faster, Bob, faster. This is where you make the decision to keep your body healthy. It's where you decide to take more exercise or choose healthy foods to eat, like Bob does, of course. But it's where you also decide not to smoke or not to take drugs. Here, you decide what kind of person you're going to be and what kind of life you're going to make for yourself.
When I grow up, I want to be a nanny. I'd like to be a police officer.
A teacher.
I would like to be a computer expert.
Might be a maths teacher, because I'm quite good at maths. I'd like to be an actor.
A doctor and a nurse.
Yes, this is where you think. The thoughts that are in here help you decide what kind of friends you want to make and keep. They help you build relationships. Blod and Bob have been friends for years, and you too have friends.
Finn is funny most of the time.
Adam's quite brainy, so I like copying off him.
It was in nursery, the first school. We just came along on the first day, met up and became friends, really. He's quite good fun, but sometimes he gets on my nerves. She's really nice. She's got a good personality. I don't know why I like her. It's just... I don't know, we just get on well, don't we? Yeah.
You wouldn't just like sit at home and say, oh, we'll watch the TV, like we'll go out and we'll do something.
Being friends with girls is, everybody says it's a bit different, you know, if it's a bit more special, something like in a relationship. Suppose you got a best friend and a girlfriend, and like them both the same, really.
I met Bobby in the juniors when we first started, and I liked him all the way through. And then in year 6, he asked me if I wanted to go out with him, and I said yeah.
I was 18 when I first met Blod. I was playing soccer for the local soccer team. I'd seen it a couple of times, watching the games.
Bob was always showing off. I knew he knew I was watching him, so I used to watch everybody else instead.
I got injured in one game. Well, my fault, really. I had to go off the pitch.
He came up, he pretended he was injured. Yeah, and then he asked me out, and I laughed and sent him off again.
After the game, she came up to me and asked me if I was okay. So I asked her out. She said no.
And then I changed my mind, and I asked him out, and he said yes. And then we went out together for 3 years. Oh, we had really good times, didn't we?
Yes. Then I wanted to spend all my time with Blod.
So he asked me to marry him. And I said yes.
Of course.
And, well, then we decided to start a family. And that's where you came in.
So there you have it. Now you are up to date. Blod and Bob are married. And Blod is going to have a baby. And that means that soon they will be a family. All babies start off with a father and a mother, but families too come in all shapes and sizes. What about yours?
This is my mother, Greta, my husband, Tom, and these are our children, Oisin and Aisling, and I am Marianne. Hello!
Hello! There's 5 kids in my family, and my mother and father. I've got a stepfather, but my real father's married again.
This is our family. I'm Ewan, and this is Esme.
Hello.
This is Carol.
Hello.
And Owain.
Hello.
And these are the twins, Seth and David.
I live with my mum and father, and they're married. I got a brother and sister.
This is our family. I'm Liz, this is Hugh, and these are our adopted children, Fionn and David.
I live at home with my mother. I have a younger brother who's 7 called Francis, and a younger sister, younger half-sister, who I live with who's 2. She's called Maya.
This is our house. This is Ruby. This is Jacob. And we live here all on our own.
Hi.
So, we are all different. Our families are different. You and I are special and unique. But what are you made of? How did you arrive in the world? And how were you made? In other words, what on earth are you? Let me take you inside to find the building blocks of your body. There are millions upon millions of them. You can't see what they look like. They're much too small to be seen with your eyes. They are called cells. This is what they might look like inside. Most cells in your body are only 1/100th of a millimeter wide. Take a look at your ruler. See 1 millimeter? Now imagine a cell 100 times smaller than that. Just in your finger there are 10,000 million cells. Cells come in various shapes. It depends on the job they do in your body. There are 200 different types and they all fit and work together well, like these in your nose. These cells are the kind that you have in your muscles. I wonder why they are this shape. And here is a nerve cell. Their job is to help send messages. In all, there are 100 million cells in your body. Inside, they look a bit like this. Everything floats around in a clear liquid, and it's all kept inside by a membrane, which only lets some things through it. Remember when we visited Blod and Bob's small intestine? We found out that the food is broken down into smaller and smaller parts until they can get into the blood. Well, the blood carries the food into every cell of the body. The useful bits of food must come in here, and the oxygen from the lung gets in here too. Now there are special places called mitochondria inside every cell. Each one is a tiny, tiny power station that turns the food and the oxygen into energy. You remember talking about the proteins in food? Some of them are stored and used here, the ribosomes. Then there are the lysosomes. These handle the rubbish, get rid of waste from the cell. And here is the very important nucleus. This is the control room of each cell, and the instructions for this cell are kept here in packages called chromosomes. You know how I keep telling you that you are unique and that there's no one else in the whole wide world exactly like you? This is why I know. In the nucleus of every cell in your body, there is a copy of the instructions that have made you and only you. They are chemical instructions, and they are different to everyone else's, unless, of course, you are one of identical twins. The name for these instructions is DNA, and it's all coiled up in 46 very long, thin threads called chromosomes. Let's have a closer look. If we unwind one of these chromosomes, look, each thread of DNA is made up of 2 strands, so it looks like a twisty ladder. This shape is called a double helix. Your DNA contains recipes that make you. Each recipe is called a gene. Recipes for making your eyes, your hair, your teeth. Recipes that decide how tall or small you are, your colouring, how you smell, and whether you're male or female. Remember I said that there are 100 million cells in your body. Once upon a time, there was only one cell carrying all these recipes. So where did that one cell come from? That's where mothers and fathers come in.
You can always recognise members of a family from certain character traits which are more closely identified with one parent or another.
Everybody says I got my dad's hair and my dad's eyes. And I look like my mother sometimes. Everybody says it.
I don't look that much like my parents, because neither of my parents have quite light hair. They both got dark. But I got like my mum's eyes, my mum's nose, my dad's ears.
Most people I know say I look like my mum. They usually say the face I look like my mum. I don't really think I look like my mum, but that's what they say.
If I was older, you'd think me and my father were identical twins, because I'm exactly like him. But everybody says from the side I'm starting to look like my mother because of my hair.
My dad got like same eyes as me, the same colour. He used to have loads of freckles like me. He used to have a mohawk by there, and he got the same nose as me.
I've got my mum's eyes and my dad's nose. Well, I've got the same colour eyes as my dad, and same body shapes I think as my dad. And I like the same stuff also as my dad. I haven't really inherited much off my mum.
I look like my nan. I don't look like anybody else. I got her eyes and nose.
But the top lip is the most identifiable thing in our gene pool because it extends at least 2 or 3 metres, if you're lucky.
Why do we look like our parents? Let's find out how each and every one of us started life. Soon, Blod and Bob are going to have a baby. Blod has been to have a scan at the local hospital.
So what we're looking at first is the baby's head. The baby's head is actually presenting first at the moment. And what we're looking at now is a profile of the baby's face. You can see one of the eye sockets, one of the orbits there, the nose, and the mouth. And the tongue is actually moving within the mouth there.
It's amazingly clear.
And down the body, the baby's heart beating. And you can actually see the breathing movements of the baby. Can you see?
Yes, yes.
And down to
Every
the
day
legs.
the baby gets bigger and bigger until it's ready to come out.
All right. And the black area is the fluid around the baby. And that's one of the hands, and you can make out the shape of the fingers there. And the other hand is behind.
I wonder who the baby will look like.
A little bit like Blod.
And a little bit like Bob.
Deciding to make a baby is not easy. There are many things to consider, like are we too young? Are we too old? Do we have enough money? Where will we live?
We wanted to wait till we had a nice home, so we were having a house renovated, and then as soon as it was finished, that was it, I wanted a baby.
First I'd like to go to university and study, and then I'd like to have a medical career. And when I've got a good stable life, then I might consider having children.
Well, I wouldn't really like children because I'd be quite busy at the time, and if I had a wife then she might have a job as well, and there'll be no one to look after the children.
After I had finished my career, really, not finished it, but had reached a stage at which I was happy with, and it just seemed the natural thing for me to do, to have a baby in my early 30s.
I don't think there really is an exact time when you should start a family. It should be when you're ready and when you want to, not being forced into it or think, oh, I should be having it now, it's about time I did.
I don't think I'd like children because they're a bit of a pain. They wake you up in the night. You have to change the nappy.
I'd like to have 2 children, but I wouldn't like to be that young when I had them. I'd like to be slightly older.
He was unplanned. So, but having said that, it's fantastic that he's here now.
You shouldn't really decide when to have a family, judging by age. Or it should be between you and your partner, and when you've got a stable home, stable relationship. So you think you're ready for children.
I can understand the women who want to do their careers and get that out of the way first, and then think, now I've got time to spend with my child. And of course they go and have their children a little bit older.
I'm 34 now. I was 16 when I first wanted kids. I haven't got around to doing it yet.
Children is not something I really think about in any way at all. In fact, never had during my life.
Well, when we first got married, we didn't want to start a family straight away, did we?
No, but on the other hand, we didn't want to leave it too late either.
No. But after 3 or 4 years, well, perfect timing.
Inside the nucleus of every one of your cells, there are recipes that make you. How do you think they got there? Next time, we find out. Blod is pregnant. Soon, in about 2 months, she will be a mother. Exciting times. An ultrasound scan at the local hospital. A sneaky look to see new baby's arms and legs and head. It's not easy to see the parts of the body, but to a trained eye there is no problem working it out. I wonder if she can tell if it's a boy or a girl. Blod and Bob don't want to know at the moment. They would prefer a surprise when the baby is born. You and I know the inside of Blod and Bob's body quite well now. We've been just about everywhere to find out how things work and how healthy they are. Things inside were pretty much the same in Blod and Bob. The lungs, the heart. A man and a woman are very similar inside. But not all things are the same. The one with a baby growing inside her is Blod, not Bob, so somewhere in her body must be very different. The part of the body which makes babies is called the reproductive system. Reproduce means to make again. Here is a closer look at Blod's reproductive system. And we will find that it is different to the system inside Bob. So, men and women are not exactly the same inside. Let's face it, outside they look pretty different too. These are also parts of the reproductive system, but they are on the outside of the body. I know, you don't look like this at the moment, but very soon you will, and some of you may already have noticed that all of a sudden you are changing.
I've got a tiny little bit of hair on my upper lip. I've got some hair around my penis and just a tiny little bit under my arms. Not a lot.
There's hair growing under my arms and on my legs and around the pubic area.
Grow hairs underneath your arms and chest and just grow bigger, grow hair. Something gets bigger. Your penis gets bigger. Even if I'm playing a sport and it isn't hot, I'll still sweat loads. I shower every night and sometimes in the morning as well, and I use deodorant and everything.
I knew something was happening to me when I was about 10. I started to sweat a bit more, especially under my arms, and I had to use a deodorant.
I used to smell, because I started to sweat a lot more than I used to. And I never used to bother with having a shower or a bath after playing games. Well, no time. And then I thought I better had.
I still had to remind him sometimes now. Lots of things happen to you when you change from being a girl to a woman. Some things take a while to get used to.
Some of my friends changed before I did. And I was quite worried about it. I thought, well, what's wrong with me? Why haven't I got that? But that's called puberty. And we all go through it.
Yes, we certainly do. And some of us go through it earlier than others. For a start, most girls start to go through puberty before boys do. They start between 10 and 14 years old. Boys tend to start between around 13 to 15. But there are no strict rules. It could happen at any time. Here is a rough guide to what you can expect at the very beginning of these changes. By around 12, you will all probably have a few spots, and you may perspire more than before. Boys will have a few hairs under the arms. And you may notice a few hairs here too, near the pubic bone. They're called pubic hairs. In a couple of years, hair may grow on your face if you're a boy. There will be tufts of hair under most girls' arms, and their pubic hair will become much thicker and curlier. And the next thing that happens is that your shape changes. Bit by bit, you will look more and more like a man, or more and more like a woman. The reproductive organs will start to change, and then things really start to happen. So this is puberty. But what makes these changes happen? It all starts here, as usual, in the brain, the control centre. When the time is right, and that time is different for everybody, the brain sends out a message to the body. Let puberty begin. It doesn't shout, of course. It uses messengers, chemical messengers in the body called hormones. Hormone comes from the Greek word hormon, which means to start something off. Puberty is controlled by special hormones called sex hormones. Girls and boys, men and women have different sex hormones. But once they are in action, then puberty begins. Some people even throw a party to celebrate. A very important event in a Jewish boy's life is the bar mitzvah. As he reaches puberty, the whole family and many friends come together to celebrate. This is the inside of a girl's brain. For the first time, the brain sends the message, start making sex hormones. Once the sex hormones start to work, puberty begins. The sex hormones in girls are called estrogen and progesterone. And this is where it all happens. This is the reproductive system inside the female. This is where babies can be made. This system is in every female. Let's start with the ovaries. We have 2 of them, and they're about the same size as strawberries. This is how they fit into the rest of the body. Remember that we are all made up of cells, millions upon millions of them? Well, in here are the female sex cells called eggs.
There are about 250,000 eggs in each ovary. That's 500,000 in all. And every girl has around that many eggs inside her ovaries from birth. Some of them are ripe, some of them not so ripe. When the sex hormones start to work, one of the first messages is to send one of these eggs on a very important journey. One egg, or ovum, which is another name for a ripe egg, will make this trip every month. So how does it happen? And where does it go? This is called a follicle, and inside here, this month's egg is ready to go. So it bursts out of here and travels along this tube. This is called the fallopian tube. And believe it or not, it's really only as wide as one of the hairs on your head on the inside.
Outside, it's about as wide as a straw, and it's about 7 or 8 centimetres long.
The ovum or egg is really about the same size as a grain of sand. After the ovum has moved a little way into the tube, it stops moving and sits here and waits for a while. Waits for what, I wonder? In the meantime, back at the ovary, other secret things are happening. The follicle that was around the egg is now making some more hormones that are sending messages to the body, get ready, soon a baby may be growing. And one of the first places to make itself ready is the uterus, or the womb. Here it is, a sac right in the middle. And this is where it fits in to the rest of the body. This is where a baby would grow and grow and grow.
Hello. How are you? Nice to see you.
A visit to the hospital to see just how much Blod's baby has grown and how big the womb has stretched.
Good. First of all, just like to measure the size of the womb at this stage of pregnancy, 28 weeks, measuring from the bone down here up to where the womb has grown. Now that is perfect for this stage of pregnancy, 28 weeks.
So, there is enough room in the uterus for a baby to grow. The walls have muscles that can stretch. But first of all, the hormones send a message so that the uterus can start to get ready. The lining of the walls starts to thicken. And yes, the egg is still waiting, and it will wait around for a day or so. What could it be waiting for?
The sperm cell finds the eggs and it makes the baby.
Before a woman can have a baby, she has to have sex, and the man gives sperm, which travels through her into her ovaries, and then the baby's made and it grows.
If nothing comes to meet the egg, it slowly fades away and dies. So, no baby starts to grow this month then. And the cosy lining on the uterus comes away. After all, it's not needed anymore, is it? It contains some blood, and it dribbles out through the hole at the bottom of the uterus, through the vagina, and straight outside. So every month, some blood comes out of your body through the vagina and past the labia, which are the folds of skin that cover the opening of the vagina. The whole area of skin on the outside, between the legs, is called the vulva. Vulva comes from the Latin word volva, which means cover. This bleeding happens every month, and it's called menstruation. Menstrua is the Latin word for month. There are other words for it, mind you, like period, coming on, time of the month, or even the curse.
I know that my periods are going to start soon, and I don't really like the idea of having periods.
I started about, I think it was last year when I was about 10 or 11, and they were fine, it didn't hurt or anything. The only thing I didn't like is that they were irregular, so I didn't know when they were going to come,
or anything, so I had to like take sanitary towels with me to school and everything. I'm gonna have periods, and I'm not really that worried about that, but I don't want the stomach pains.
When I actually do come on, I start taking tablets to take the pain away, and I go swimming and take as much exercise beforehand so that when I actually do start, there won't be as much pain. I feel better in myself then.
My periods haven't started yet, but I'm not exactly looking forward to it because my friends have started and they get really uncomfortable when they have it in school.
I couldn't believe it. This? Every month? It didn't seem fair, because boys don't have these problems. Oh, no. But I soon found out that boys have different problems to deal with.
You'll hear more about those next time.
Yes, next time. Periods do hurt a little bit sometimes. In actual fact, I like to curl up with a hot water bottle some days. One good thing about being pregnant, though, no periods for 9 months.
Basically, there's no way around this. Once a month, every woman that is not pregnant is going to bleed, and you're going to need to collect that blood so that it doesn't show. Believe me, you get used to it. You may not like it, but it happens.
Yes, I'll need these.
The kind of sanitary protection I would use would be the sanitary towels. I used those for several years, and it wasn't until, I was about 15, 16 that I started using tampons.
In the shop, you were asking me about all the sanitary towels. Well, when the time comes, here's some of the ones we can choose from. You can see they're all different, but they all have got this sticky bit at the back, so you can stick it onto your pants so it doesn't shift around. And this one is quite clever because it's thicker at the front. But you see, they're all different. This one here is a little thin one, so you can put that in place when your period's about to start, so they're not taken by surprise. Or you could use it towards the end of your period when the flow is a bit lighter. And then there's this one here. You see it's got these flaps. They're called wings, and you can stick them to your pants so they don't shift around. When you play netball, you wouldn't want it to shift around. Or this one here, can you feel it?
Oh. Not that nice.
Well, they've all got different textures. You may find that you're more comfortable with this one or that one. We'll have to try them when the time comes. And they've even got little sort of packages like this now, so you can keep them in your bag discreetly so no one need know what you've got.
But you use these as well, then?
Yes, I do. These are inserted inside the vagina to absorb the flow, and I use them when the flow is either heavy or when I'm going swimming, because we like going swimming together.
Yeah.
Do you know, when I was a teenager, I used to burst into tears sometimes for no apparent reason. And then when I chatted with the other girls, I realised it happened to all of us. And now I don't have any mood swings at all. Do I, Bob?
Of course you don't, dear.
I think I was probably a moody teenager. Certainly I had a temper. So again, I'm not sure whether it was my body or it was just my own personality that was like that anyway. I think I found it hard growing up.
Well, I have some mood swings where I'm quite ratty and not very nice to people sometimes, but I always regret it afterwards.
1 minute I'm all happy and nearly almost hyperactive and jumping around and everyone's going, calm down. And then suddenly I go all like, I don't know, I'm quite reserved and quiet, and then people ask me, are you okay?
The reason why you may feel a bit strange is because of the hormones that are busy in your body. Some days you might feel on top of the world. Other days you just can't stop crying. It isn't always easy to cope with these changing feelings, believe me.
Even the gladiators have to cope with periods.
Sometimes even the stress of doing gladiators can either prevent your periods from coming or bring them on early. And the amount of times I've heard someone running into the dressing room saying, has anyone got a Tampax?
I wonder what happens to TV presenter Sian Lloyd once a month.
It's not a problem for me at all. In fact, I'm so lucky that I can almost tell to the minute when my period's going to start. So I guess I'm a lot luckier than a lot of people in that respect, and that makes it ultimately very, very copable with.
Athletes taking part in major events can face period problems. This is Tanny Gray.
Because of my training, then my periods now are fairly irregular, because of the level of I suppose, training I'm doing and the amount of training I'm doing every week. One thing that does happen is that your body clock changes, and now when I do compete, my period does tend to come on, especially for major competitions. So you have to get used to it, and you have to get used to dealing with it, you know, and you always know when it's coming, because at the major events, your period will be there.
So, if you are a girl, you may have noticed some changes happening in your body already. If not, you probably soon will. In the next few years, you will change from being a girl into a woman. Remember, every month, a ripe egg starts its journey into the fallopian tube to wait for something to happen. Because before a new life begins, something else is needed, something from a father-to-be. What is it like to be a man? How did Bob change from being a boy to being a man? And how did he help to make Blod's baby? We find out next time. In the meantime, I'm going to keep my eye on that ripe egg, just in case. Next time you're out and about, look around you. There are so many people in the world, all so different, but in many ways they are similar. Can you think of some of the things that all these people must do every day of their lives? Think about what goes on inside their bodies, their stomachs, lungs, kidneys, brains. Men and women, girls and boys and babies, look around you and you will see people of all ages. We all start off in the world as tiny little babies, but soon this baby will grow to be a toddler, and then a child, and then a teenager. Soon he will have left school and will be a young man. All the time he's growing older. Now he's 40. He may not grow in size anymore, but hair's getting grey and thinner. Soon he will be retired. Maybe you have grandparents or great-grandparents who are retired. As time goes by, people get older. Their bodies change as they get older. Blod and Bob are in their 30s. Blod is 32 and Bob is 31. And of course, they haven't always looked like this. When Blod was around 10 and Bob around 14 years old, they both grew quite a bit. See this jump in their height? The reason there was a spurt of growth was because of sex hormones. Do you remember what they are from last time? Hormones are special chemicals that move around in the blood and work as messengers. The decision is made here in the brain that puberty is about to start. Puberty is the time when a boy starts to be a man and a girl starts to become a woman. Puberty comes from the Latin word pubertas, which means grown up or adult. When the brain decides, let puberty begin, the hormones start to make changes in the body, and one important thing that happens is that the body grows. You'll find that clothes you were wearing just a month or so ago will be too small for you. Last time, we saw some of the other changes that happen, remember? Some hairs will appear under the arm, some pubic hairs will appear. You may have one or two spots because the skin is more oily. You may sweat a little more than you used to, and you may have to wash more carefully.
I knew that one day I would have hair on my face and that I'd be shaving like my father. But I was so disappointed when the first hairs came because they were so thin and fine. I didn't know quite what to do with them. And they felt all fluffy, not at all as I'd expected. It took ages for hair to come on my face. But in the end, they did come. Having said that, shaving every day is a real nuisance, a real pain. I think I might grow a beard.
starting to grow hair around my mouth. I've started shaving now, and I shave about 3 times a week.
Hair started growing, a moustache, and down like a beard.
Well, I started shaving when I was about 11, 12. So like that's when I first noticed hairs growing on my face. And started shaving then. When I first shaved, it was alright. I got used to it, but now like don't really like it. So I have to shave every day.
As well as growing in height, both boys and girls will find that the body is changing shape too. Girls are starting to look more like women and boys like men.
Boys' chests will get broader and perhaps a few hairs will appear there in the end. Legs will become more and more hairy too. And what about girls? The hips and thighs become rounded. Soon girls will find that breasts will start to grow and they may find it more comfortable to wear a bra. Breasts are glands that make milk when a woman has a baby. They are made up of fatty tissue that contain lots and lots of milk glands. There are tubes called ducts that are there to carry milk to the nipple when the baby is sucking. Some breasts have more fatty tissue than others, which is why some women have big breasts and others small. There are no rules about the size of breasts.
I used to worry about my breasts. They took so long to come. And when they did, I thought they were smaller than everybody else's. Mine are quite small. Sometimes I don't bother to wear a bra at all. I don't worry about them.
I remember going with my best friend to buy my first bra in Swansea, and they actually had a 30 AA size there. It was probably the only shop in the whole of Wales that did 30 AA. And I latched onto this with gratitude, relief and joy, because here was a bra that even I could wear.
My mum and my sister going out and buying my first bra, and I was like, ugh, that was really embarrassing. Yeah, and that's something I wouldn't want to go through again, actually.
I remember buying my first bra. Oh, I was so embarrassed when I tried it on. Stupid, really, isn't it? Because all women have breasts.
So what happens the first time you go shopping for your very first bra? Well, wearing the right size is a must, and most shops will offer to measure you before you choose the kind of bra you'd like. This is done behind closed doors, of course. This young girl has been wearing a little crop top, but feels that now is the time to buy a proper bra.
Just relax your arms. 30. $38.
Would you like me to show you some suitable bras?
Yeah, that'd be lovely, thank you. That's done. So what next?
These look very pretty. The black ones are nice.
And there's so many to choose from. Some people are quick to decide. Others take more time to study the style and colour.
Someone will be looking for one of these for you. Which one would you like? Would you? I like the cream.
Boy's shape changes too once puberty starts, and the biggest change will happen between his legs, where his reproductive organs will get bigger. In a girl, these organs are mostly all inside the body, but a lot of the sex organs in boys are outside. Here's the penis, for example. Now, once the male hormone testosterone starts to work, the penis and the scrotum get bigger. But there are no rules about size here either. Every boy will be different.
I don't ever remember being embarrassed in the shower in school. Whether, you know, I'd grown pubic hair or I was bigger than any of the other guys or smaller in the shower. I mean, the first thing you realise is that you're all at more or less the same sort of stage of development.
I'm not worried about the size of my penis, really, because it doesn't make much of a difference, I don't think. All males have got one, so, like, everything's the same.
I'm not really worried about the size of my penis because the other people in the class don't really have a look, so it doesn't really matter.
I suppose at some stage every boy is concerned about his penis size, but one becomes aware of it and conscious of it in the showers, maybe. But at the end of the day, we're all very alike.
So this is the male reproductive system, and this is the penis. Do you remember inside the female we found 2 sacs called ovaries where the eggs were stored? Well, in the male there are 2 soft and squidgy sacs called testicles, or some people call them testes. Here they are. Now they are covered by a layer of skin called the scrotum. And the reason why all of this hangs outside the body is because the testicles work better when they're in a cooler place. Inside the body would be much too warm. Usually, one testicle hangs lower than the other one. Sometime between the age of 10 and 16, the testes grow from about the size of a marble to about the size of a walnut or a small ball. It doesn't happen all at once, but slowly over a couple of years. Inside the testicles, sperm are made. Sperm are the male sex cells. Now these don't start to be made until puberty, and from then on, men make them for years and years and years until they're quite old. But when the brain first starts to send the message, let puberty begin, the first instruction is, make some sperm. And so they do. But not just 1, or even 2 sperm. But wait for it, over 100 million per day. That, if you work it out, is 1,000 sperm every second. So imagine how tiny they must be. They all have little tails so that they can move better. The scrotum, a layer of skin, protects the testes and makes sure that they are just the right temperature, not too cold and not too hot. In fact, you'll find that if you happen to be swimming in very cold water, the scrotum gets tight as it pulls in the testicles nearer the body to warm them up a bit. They can only make sperm if they are just the right temperature. The sperm move out into a long coiled tube called the epididymis. Now, believe it or not, if you could straighten this tube out, it would be 6 meters long. As the sperm move around in here, they grow to their full size, and then they're ready to make a baby. That is, if they can reach the female sex cell, the egg. But how does the sperm get there? Well, this tube here is called the sperm duct, or the vas deferens. Strong muscles push the sperm very, 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 very quickly along the sperm duct all the way to here, where they then mix with a liquid full of sugar from these glands here to make a thick, creamy, sticky fluid called semen. The sugar gives the sperm energy, which they badly need because they do so much swimming around and they have a long journey ahead. The semen carrying the sperm then rushes along this tube in the middle of the penis and shoots out. This tube is called the urethra, and it's the same tube that carries the urine out when boys go to the toilet. But there is a very clever system to make sure that they both don't come out together. Usually, when the semen comes out, the penis is hard. It gets hard because blood rushes down to fill up the tissues. And when it's hard, there is a flap here that closes and stops urine coming out at the same time. But once the semen is out, the penis becomes soft again.
Usually, the tip of the penis is covered by a fold of skin called the foreskin. Sometimes, for religious or cultural or medical reasons, boys are circumcised. The fold of skin is taken away.
Normally, of course, the penis hangs down, but sometimes it can become hard or stand up for no reason at all. It all happens because there is a lot of the hormone testosterone in a boy's body at the time of puberty, and it's nothing to worry about. It'll probably happen more than once to most boys and will wear off as puberty passes.
I couldn't believe it, really. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd find a wet patch on the bed, and I realised, well, I was too old to wet the bed. And I remember some of the kids at school mentioning a wet dream, and I thought it could be that, so I asked my father, and he explained it. He said that sometimes semen comes out with no apparent reason, and that there was nothing to worry about. It happens to everybody. So I didn't.
I've always thought that wet dreams might happen to me, but they
that they never happen that night, and then I think they'll happen the next night, and they don't. So
I had a wet dream about. I started quite a long time ago. So like, didn't bother telling anyone because didn't think anyone would like care about it.
I don't worry about wet dreams because I know that eventually it'll happen, and probably the night it will, I'll probably be worried about it, but like by the next day it won't bother me.
I have had a wet dream. I was a bit embarrassed, but I didn't tell anyone. But I realised that it happens to everyone, so it's not too bad.
At the same time as all of this starts happening, a boy's voice will start to change. A girl's voice will get a bit lower too, but it's more obvious in a boy.
One of the most devastating things that happened to me during puberty was probably when I was about 12 years old. I was in the school choir at Ysgol Glenclwyd in St Asaph in North Wales, and I used to sing soprano. I had my mother's very high voice, very, very high, and I could reach those notes and sang quite happily. But as soon as puberty onset, the hair came and the voice went. The first thing is not that your voice drops an entire octave. You don't suddenly start talking like this. Instead of being up there, you get a period where your voice falters between the two, and you can't quite manage to sing those high notes without the low ones dipping in as well.
Well, this started probably just after Christmas, and a lot of my parents, my voice has gone very deep.
My voice broke and it started getting deeper. It wasn't very deep at first, but it started getting even deeper as I grew older.
I can't sing anymore because my voice is just like broken. It's really croaky. All my friends' voice was broken before, like take the mickey sometimes.
When I was a boy soprano. Good one as well. But then my voice broke and I stopped singing for a while.
These are the things that boys must get used to as they go through puberty. Like girls, sometimes they feel sad now and then, and maybe mixed up. They might worry that it's only happening to them, or that it isn't happening to them, but everybody's so different.
Don't dwell on something. And I think if you give anyone any advice, if something is bugging you, no matter how embarrassing you think it is, don't worry about it. This kind of thing's probably happened to someone else in the past.
I get worried that like girls will go out with one person and they'll never go out with like me or something like that. I don't think there are that many things that I'm particularly worried about with growing up. I think, if you know what's going to happen, then you shouldn't be too worried about what does happen.
All these changes happen inside a boy to make him a man and able to make babies one day. One of the sperm inside the epididymis could be half of what is needed to make a brand new life, another human being, a baby. But it needs to reach the egg that is patiently waiting inside the fallopian tube in the female. I wonder what will happen to the egg. We find out next time. Well, I'm still waiting. This is a ripe egg inside the fallopian tube of a woman's body. There are cells surrounding it, making food in order to keep it going for a while. Do you recall where the egg came from? Up here is the ovary, and it's stacked full of eggs, many of them ripe. What happens then is that once a month, one of these leaves the follicle that holds it, and the egg or ovum passes down the fallopian tube and waits. Inside this egg, remember, there is information that will help to make a new life. But first, it needs something else. It needs sperm. As it waits here for a good 24 hours, just in case some sperm arrives, the uterus here gets ready just in case. Remember how the lining gets thicker. If nothing happens, if no sperm meets the egg, then the lining goes away and the walls of the uterus bleed. That gives girls periods, remember? But where are the sperm? Inside the man, of course. These are the testicles where sperm are made. Millions upon millions of them. They're stored here in the epididymis, remember? Millions of sperm, 600th of a millimetre long, looking a bit like tadpoles, and inside the head of each one is the genetic information, the instructions that decide things like colour of hair, height, and things like that. So, in order to start a baby, the sperm must get inside the woman into the vagina and must reach that egg waiting patiently in the fallopian tube. And what a race! Of these 500 million sperm about to be released, only one will actually make it inside the egg, and it's a pretty amazing hazardous journey. When the sperm escape from here, they travel very, very fast, all 500 million of them, all along this tube here, until they reach the bottom of the bladder. That's the yellow sac there. Next, they mix with a liquid full of sugar, which comes from this red sac here. The sugar gives the sperm energy, and boy, are they going to need it, because next, they shoot along this tube here, in the middle of the penis, and out. In order that the sperm can swim to the egg, the penis must be inside the vagina. This can happen when a couple make love. Notice how well the penis fits into the vagina. It's like one piece of jigsaw fitting into another. When Blod and Bob decided to have a baby, they made love at a time when Blod knew there might be an egg waiting in her tube. Bob's penis filled with blood so that it became firm and then went inside Blod's vagina. It didn't hurt Blod because the walls of the vagina become wet and slippery so that the penis can get in comfortably. After a while, all 500 million sperm flow out into the vagina and prepare to race to the egg. The sperm rest for a little while, say half an hour in the vagina, and then they're off. And don't forget, only one sperm can win this race. Let's hope that the egg is still waiting in the fallopian tube. Sperm swim by beating their tails as fast as they possibly can. Some can swim faster than others, but the journey up to the fallopian tube, a distance of 15 centimetres or so, can take several hours. Mind you, the fastest swimmer can get there in half an hour. Some, of course, get lost. There are many obstacles in their way, narrow passages to get stuck in and holes to fall into. Some take days to get there. I'm cute, I'm strong, I'm the best there is. No other sperm can swim as fast as this. I know there will be pitfalls around every bend. Oops, here comes a problem, another dead end. The road is long and twisty with lots of lumps and holes. If I keep my cool, I'll avoid all those. Sugar in the semen, enough to last the trip. I wish I hadn't said that. Here comes another blip. Egg me on, I've got style and wit. Ah, that's not fair, I didn't spot that pit. My friends are lost or tired, the egg is in sight. I think I'm gonna make it, guys, yes! I'm all right. The winner. This poor tail has lashed about 20,000 times to reach this point. The head of the sperm has made it inside the egg. It's worked like a drill, and what's more, it stopped all the other poor sperm who made it this far from getting a look in. And what were Blod and Bob doing when all this excitement was taking place? But the journey isn't over yet. In order to make a new life, in order to start a new baby, other things have to get together.
The male and female have sex, and while they have sex, the sperm goes up the woman's womb and to the egg, and then she gets pregnant. And after 9 months, then she has the child.
Inside the egg, things are beginning to happen. Things are starting to move. The nucleus is here. Remember what's inside? All the genetic information, all the instructions and recipes from the mother. They're in special codes called genes. These genes are the recipes for making the proteins in your eyes, ears, nose, mouth, fingers, hair, everywhere. They make the proteins that fight germs. They decide how tall you're going to be, whether or not you'll have red hair.
I hope the baby will have Bob's eyes. I like the colour of his eyes. But I hope you'll have my colour hair.
I think he'll have my brains. I think he'll have Blod's eyes. And I hope he'll have my colour hair.
What?
Well, of course, it isn't true that people with red hair suffer from worse tempers than anyone else. Blod? Oh. I love red hair. Listen, I hope he's a redhead.
She.
She. He. Who cares? He or she will have a bit of me.
And a bit of me, thank goodness.
The chemical that makes up genes is DNA. When we visited a cell, first of all, you remember that I said that the DNA was in 46 chromosomes. The egg cell is different. It has only half as many, 23 chromosomes. So, where do the other 23 chromosomes come from? To make a brand new life, we need these to mix with DNA from the father. And guess what's on its way?
After losing its tail and completing that long and tiring journey, the head of the winning sperm is making its way through the cell towards the nucleus of the egg. This is the nucleus of the sperm. Inside here is all the information needed from the father. And all of it is in, yes, 23 chromosomes. They move together and join. This gives 46 chromosomes. The membranes that were keeping all those recipes safe inside the nucleus of the sperm and the nucleus of the egg suddenly disappear, and everything is mixed together inside the egg. So now we have one brand new cell, a new beginning that will soon make a brand new baby. The baby will be unique, special. No other baby will be quite like it. It will have some recipes from mother and some from father. So what happens next? How does the baby grow? This one cell needs to become 100 million cells. Remember, this is how many cells there are inside you. Even your finger contains 10,000 million cells, and each and every one of them contains a nucleus with exactly the same genetic information in it. The recipes, some from mum and some from dad, now on 46 chromosomes. So how does it all happen? All the recipes have to be copied first. The DNA unravels, is copied, and then twists together again. So that now we have two cells. And this happens over and over again until you get more and more cells. And at the same time, this ball of new cells starts to roll and roll and roll along the fallopian tube until it reaches the uterus. The ball is now about 200 cells, and it's called an embryo. It settles firmly down on the uterus wall. We know that the walls of the uterus have thickened to get ready for the baby. This month, there will be no period. The walls will stay and guard the new baby for about 40 weeks. The cells divide and divide. They will be different shapes and sizes, and according to the instructions, some cells will move to certain places and make the different organs that we all have. 4 weeks later, 7 millimeters long, there's a heart that beats very, very quickly. 6 weeks, 1 centimeter long. The embryo is inside a sac to keep it safe. The head is nearly there. The digestive system is there. Arms and legs are like little buds. Mouth starting to form. 8 weeks old, the eyes are fully developed. The nose is taking shape. The lungs are there. And it's only 8 weeks old. After 62 days, it's all there, even though the embryo is only 4 centimeters long. Yes, smaller than your little finger.
Congratulations, Bob.
So now Blod and Bob get ready for the birth of the baby. Bob learns more about the birth from his doctor, while Blod visits the antenatal classes where she learns all about breathing in a special way, relaxing and exercising, things that will help her during the birth.
As far as you can and bring them back to the middle.
They need to buy things for the baby. All sorts of things will come in useful. Blod needs to be careful of what she eats because all the baby's food comes from her blood. She must be careful that she doesn't eat the wrong things or do anything to damage the baby. The baby is connected to the mother by an umbilical cord. Along this cord, blood flows from the mother, blood carrying food and oxygen so that the baby can grow. But all sorts of other things can reach the baby too if she's not careful.
when a woman's pregnant, she shouldn't really smoke and drink too much alcohol and things like that, because that can seriously damage the baby's health.
You should take lots of exercise because it'll help you when you're having the baby with the birth and everything. If you eat well, then it's good for the baby and you'll probably feel better with yourself as well, feel more energy and everything.
I limit it, obviously everybody limits alcohol. I certainly don't smoke anyway, so that wasn't a problem. I made a point of eating a lot more fresh fruit.
Yeah, when I was pregnant with Joel, I did change my eating habits quite dramatically, actually, because I do tend to like chocolate cakes, lots of sweet things. And even though I ate those, you know, as well, I also made sure I ate plenty of like vegetables, spinach, fresh fruit, and did a lot of swimming as well.
I ate very sensibly. I don't smoke anyway. I didn't drink.
Well, the time has almost arrived. The baby is due any time now, and Blod and Bob are making last-minute preparations. Just before a mother gives birth, she often gets very busy getting things ready. Maybe she knows how tired she will be after the birth. An exciting time. What will the birth be like? At last, things are beginning to happen. Blod feels some pain and knows that it won't be long now. I wonder how it feels. Not everyone has a baby in hospital. Mothers do what they feel is best for them.
This is the first child where I've had to go into hospital to have a child. My others were either a home delivery or a GP birth.
When the baby's ready to come and give birth, it comes out through the vagina. I think it's very painful because, like, the woman got to go through everything.
I think it'll be quite hard for a woman to have a child. It will hurt her as well.
My labours are always long. And I've been told that after your second child, your muscles have to work harder to get the babies out. And certainly that was so for Harry.
Slow, deep.
In the classes, Blod learned how to try and fight the pain. Bob remembers what he was taught to help her. I know what you're thinking. How does a baby that big get out? The neck of the uterus is closed and the vagina is narrow, there's no doubt about that. But the walls of the uterus have strong muscles that push the baby downwards. And the neck of the uterus then opens and stretches to about 10 centimetres wide. That's about this much. Still not much room, I know. But the bones in the baby's skull move a little bit so that the head can be pushed through safely. The vagina is quite stretchy, so once it's through the opening, the only way is out. And here she comes, a brand new baby girl. She needs a little help to breathe, but everything's fine. Blod is tired and relieved. And baby says her first hello.
Yeah, fine.
Bob is a proud dad.
It was once the head that came round.
There we are, here's your baby. And the cup go around there.
Look, Blod. So small.
And as for baby, time for tea. After a day or so, it's time to bring the new mother and baby home.
Hey.
And of course, everyone wants a peep.
Hello.
Number one and all is well.
Yes.
See you again.
See you later. Farewell.
So, welcome home.
So there you have it, a new baby. Now you know why your body is changing at the moment, or at least why it'll be starting to soon. It's to prepare you to be a mother or a father when the time is right. In order to make a baby, sperm must reach that egg waiting in the tube. You decide when the time is right for you and your partner. If you don't want to make a baby, then you must make sure that sperm and egg do not meet. Look after yourselves, keep healthy. Goodbye.
Bob was in the kitchen, cooking up some sprouts. Blod grabbed at his attention with a mighty shout. They rushed around in earnest, looking for her things, and I remembered weeks ago when time had wings. They went to see the doctor, he sent them for a scan. She took him into town, 'cause they would need a pram. They set up home for baby in the nursery. Bob and Blod had planned it, it was meant to be. In and out of traffic, Bob is tooting the horn. They've got to reach maternity before the baby's born. Blod is breathing gently now, she's timed it to a T, having been to all the classes and remained healthy.
If you'd like to order the teacher's notes for this series, you can write to BBC Wales Education, Broadcasting House, Llandaff, Cardiff, CF5 2YQ, or telephone 01222 572 838.